Hey everyone, it's Marc Bruin. As you might know, I'm the Director of Counselling Global, may I even say, for Spirit Hive. And this month's Spirit Hive, at least the Australian one, is going to be talking about intuition, how to develop it, what is it, what can you do with it. So it's an interesting topic. I like intuition, always have liked it from a more spiritual perspective, if you will. It's that idea of I just know particular things, and you can sort of sense them before you know they're actually happening. It's that gut feeling. I want to talk about intuition from a more counselling, psychology type point of view. I think that could be useful as well. Intuition, the study of intuition goes back quite some time. The more modern exponents of that one are people like Carl Jung. He, in the early 20th century, was already talking about intuition as a mode of decision making that was outside apparent, deliberate, conscious, rational thought. And he said it's part of our personality. He said there are two types of people, or there are more types of people obviously, but when it comes to this sort of stuff, he says the bottom up people and the top down people. And the top down people seem to be a little bit more cerebral. We use their intuition, use their thought and feeling in order to make decisions in life, whereas the more bottom-up people use earthly experience, so their sensations, the stuff that's going on in life more as their foundation for making decisions. And he got really interested. He said, look, it's ultimately, there was his discussion, neither is better. You actually need both. The balance between relying on your external experiences and relying on what's going on inside you, both in terms of feeling and thinking, is important to make decisions in life. Anyway, that was Carl Jung. Now, intuition is this thing where you just know that something is going to happen, or you've got this insight about something that you just know would not happen at all, ever. Or you see someone coming and you go, not sure if I can trust this person, or the other way around. It could be a dog, for instance. I like dogs. You see your dog coming at you off leash, and you think, nah, that's a good doggy. He's not going to do anything to me. You're just ready for him to come over and you can pet him. Now, how do you know that you can trust your intuition? What makes it? And psychologists and counsellors are often, not often, but very obviously interested in that, because it's one of those things you can't really grasp. Intuition is a tough thing to grasp for most people. So what do you do with it? What is it? Well, most counsellors and psychologists and psychological science are pretty much in agreement that intuition is an actual psychological experience, and it's something we can study. And there's been plenty of studies done. One boy with all the details of it. But the idea is that it's actually a really quick way of processing information by our brain that leads us to being able to make decisions before we've had the chance to consciously, rationally think about it. And that can be good in situations where time is critical. Sometimes we have to make a decision really quick because otherwise things might go wrong, or it's time pressured anyway. It doesn't have to be right or wrong, but it's just time pressured. Or when things are very important, we have to do something now and there's a lot of stress involved. So either in time element or a stress element, we then use intuition to make a decision quick, and then can think about whether that's rationally a good idea. Now, what is the power of intuition? Well, are we always correct intuitively? No. No. Sometimes we're way off. The poker player that looks at his hand and go like, that's an absolute winning hand. I know it. I can feel it. Might be right, might be wrong. But there are two pretty critical elements that play a role with the question whether you can trust your intuition a little bit more or not. And those two things are, have you had this experience before? That's number one. If you are very experienced at a particular thing, or you've had lots of experiences with it, then obviously you start to develop that sixth sense. How do police people sometimes spot a car driving in front of them and they go like, might have to pull that one over, there's something going on. Or how is a fireman trained to do particular things without really thinking about it? They use their intuition. There might be someone in a room going to have to check. Well, that's because they've been doing it over and over and over and over again. So that's a really big, important part of good, well-developed intuition, the experience that you've had in that field. Another one in that same field is the idea. Let me try and phrase that correctly. Well, it's the database that you've built up. So your past experiences lead you to having that database that you can start relying on. So that becomes an important part of your intuition data set, your skill set. And the other part is it a what they call high validity environment. If you are in an environment that has high validity, where you can trust the things that are coming because you've seen them before, then your intuition will work better. For instance, if firemen go into a house that's on fire, then particular sounds, particular sights, particular cues from the environment will make them able to judge whether this thing is going to, this house is going to collapse or not, and they can build their decision on it, and they'll use their intuition for that. Now, that's not always correct. Put a fireman, for instance, in a sports game and have them decide whether who's going to win and what can you base that on. This person might be completely lost because they have no clue. So in short, the more experience you have and the more the environment that you have that experience in is in front of you, so the better you can judge the context, the better your intuition will work, and the more you can rely on it. That's the trick, obviously. So is this a familiar environment? Have I been in this before? And how much experience have I had with this environment? Those are the questions you can ask yourself, whether you want to make a judgment call on your intuition or not. Lots to be said about that. Won't go into that too much. The question is, how do you develop it even further? Well, there are many ways that you can develop your intuition. And I'm going to mention 9, so that's a lot, but I'm going to mention them and they all interconnect. Number 1 is be still. Allow yourself to be still and actually sit with that feeling. If there is a hunch, if there is something that sounds familiar, looks familiar, and you got a particular feeling about that, listen to it. Be still. Make sure you put yourself in the position that you can take that information in, because it is your brain talking to you through something else than knowledge from the outside world only. There's something else going on. The second one is trust that gut feeling, your actual gut. By now, most naturopaths, doctors, neuroscientists, coaches, counselors are in agreement that there is something like the emotional nervous system, or what they call the enteric nervous system, the gut brain, or whatever you want to call it. There are many, many nerve cells in your gut area, and they communicate with your brain. So if there is a good feeling or a bad feeling, you often can sense it in your gut, literally. Trust that feeling. On top of, have you had that experience before? Is this a high validity environment? But trust that feeling initially. Your gut is telling you something, and that is because of all the neurological connections between your brain and your intestines, your gut. So that's number 2. Number 3 is feel. Actually feel your body through your somatosensory cortex, and that runs behind here, roughly towards the back. There is lots of communication between the emotional parts of your brain and the more rational parts of your brain, and you want to listen to them. Your body is translating a lot of that stuff anywhere. It could be a tingling feeling in your neck, it could be something in your fingers, it could be a niggle somewhere else that tells you something. Listen to it. It could be something really important. On the other hand, also be able to let negative feelings go. Sounds paradoxical, but the more negative we feel, the less we seem to be, research suggests, in touch with our intuition. So don't rely on your intuition too much if you're already not feeling that great to begin with, because depressed people seem to have less access to their intuition, or make decisions based on their intuition that are actually not in their best interest. So be careful with that one if your mood is not that great. Be very deliberate about the people you hang out with. Many other people in a similar industry, in a similar frame of mind, will allow you to feed your intuition and build it up. So that's another one. Be very deliberate about the people you hang out with. 6th one, I've got them all written down here, is pay attention to what's going on around you. Like I said previously, the information that you get from your outside environment, the context, is really important, so that your brain can take that in and process it in a way that's either in line with what it intuitively already knows or not. So make sure you scan your environment really closely if you're somewhere and you want to rely on your intuition. Make sure you take all the facts in as much as possible. Like Jung said, it's the bottom-up processing, lots of sensations, and then use that thinking and feeling to come to conclusions about that one. Connect with other people. Yeah, many people know many things. There is something like a collective consciousness. So the more you hang out with people, that's that connection bit, but also the idea of linking in with people in general allows you to grow somewhat of a collective intuition, and happy to talk to more about that one another time. But it absolutely works that way. So connect with others, and connect with others in particular fields that you want to become more intuitive about, because they can train you, if you will. Absolutely find time to be silent and still. So that falls together with the first one that I mentioned. Be still, listen. Mindfulness, that's my jam. Mindfulness allows you to become more quiet, and there is some research to suggest that by becoming more quiet, you can start to get more in tune with what your body is telling you, somatosensory cortex, enteric nervous system, but also in general, you can start to listen to what your intuition is telling you a little bit more. And the last one, dream time. Use dream time. Dream time, not the Aboriginal dream time, but the time for dreams, your night time, is the time where our brain processes stuff, and many things might come up that could be useful for you to use in an intuitive sense. So definitely listen to what your dreams are telling you. Not perfect science, but they definitely play a role in this whole picture of intuition and logical thinking and emotional thinking. So those are the 9. There is 9 in them, believe me or not. But as always, be and stay and remain rational. Don't always go with your gut feeling, because you might well be off. Like Carl Jung said, always find that balance. Look for that balance, because there might be something going on there if you use the two together. But just relying on thought, just relying on emotions, just relying on instinct or intuition might not get you very far. So use the 3 in combinations: thoughts, feelings, intuition, and build on it, which you absolutely can. And then trust me, your intuition will start talking more and more to you, and you can start to rely on it more and more and more. If you want to know more about this, feel free to contact us either at Spirit Hive or through me directly. My website, simplifyinglife.com.au, through Karen, through Spirit Hive in general. Come along to one of the hives, online or live, when we can get back live again, and look forward to connecting with you soon. Cheers.